Australia in a few locations, I think, in specific. But I have a bio here that I'll read for you before we welcome Gary. Gary began his career in astronomy as a lunar observer for Northwestern University in Las Cruces, New Mexico. He spent the rest of his career in Boulder, Colorado, where he worked as a solar observer at the National Center for Atmospheric Research and as an astronomy observer at the University of Colorado's Laboratory for Atmospheric and Space Physics. After 2 decades, Gary switched to space science and finished his career at the Ball Aerospace in Boulder, helping to design and build spacecraft and instruments for use in space, including most of those on the Hubble Space Telescope. Gary's travels have taken him to all 7 continents, including Antarctica, where he spent a month at the South Pole. Please join me in welcoming Gary Emerson.
Can everyone hear me okay? Closer? There, okay. Okay, I'll start out with a little background on this talk. I have been very fortunate to make 5 trips to Australia. And the best part of that is 3 were paid by someone else. The first one was really fun. Went down in 1988 to help the University of Colorado launch a rocket to look at a supernova. That was a kick. The only problem was it was in January. We were out in the middle of the outback. January, of course, down there is like August here. So we really got to experience the outback. Temperatures were typically 120 to 122 every day. We were working inside. A bunch of wussies. Anyway, it was a very successful launch. One of the graduate students got a PhD for that. 2 of the other trips were looking for sites to establish observatory. And then 2 were just for fun, birding and whatever. So I've been very fortunate. I've been there 5 times, and I've been telling everyone the 6th time, I'm not coming back. Let's see, clicker here. Okay. Australia is a big country, very big country. If you notice in the upper right-hand corner there, it's almost exactly the same area as the United States. And I keep talking to people that are going down there for the first time, wanting to see the whole country. And I try to talk them out of it. But look at, compared to the United Kingdom, Japan, look at Europe. You could put all of Europe inside Australia. Yeah, it's a very big country. Now, how many of you have been to Australia? Oh, wow, that's neat. That's neat. Hopefully you'll see some familiar sights here and some familiar birds. Now, most of the people in this country don't like to even think about going down there, and I think this is right. They've been looking at this map too long. Yeah, I hate to admit it, but some of these are correct. Now, tonight, I picked just a few sites where I have spent quite a bit of time and know the birding is excellent, and where you can see the birds of that particular part of Australia. We're going to cover from Darwin up on the top side, all the way down to Tasmania on the bottom side. That's the way they say it in Australia. Anyone here know what they call birders in Australia? Twitchers, yes. I have no idea where that came from, but I was looking at some birds up in the trees in Darwin. This guy came up to me and he says, "Are you a twitcher?" Not that I know of. And then he explained twitchers are burgers. Yeah, okay. So we're going to cover, the first area is the southeast coast. This is roughly Sydney over to Adelaide. And of course, we're just barely scratching the surface on the number of birds here. There's something like 570 birds have been seen in Australia, so we're not covering them all in here. Also, it's been some time since I've been there, so I'm going to use a cheat sheet. A lot of the little LGBs, I've forgotten what they were, and some of these I've only seen once, so I'm going to have to use a cheat sheet here. So anyway, we'll look at birds along the southeast coast, and then one of my very favorite areas, the outback. I love the outback. And then we'll go up to Darwin in that area, and then from there to Tasmania and end up in Tasmania. Birds of Australia, yeah, 720 species have been recorded in the country and continent. 23 of these are introduced. Maya bird, or Mina bird, is the common introduced bird, and they're everywhere. 575 nesting species, and what's really exciting when you go down for the first time is 329 of these are endemic. So you're going to be seeing a lot of new birds and some very interesting and strange ones. Most people come in through Sydney, and after a 14-hour flight, you're dead, just totally dead. So I found the thing to do is to go downtown to the botanical gardens, which are superb. It's one of the best botanical gardens in the world. Very large, lots of benches and trees where you can lean up against a tree and snooze all day. It's just a great way to wind down from a 14-hour plane flight. Now, as soon as you walk out of the terminal, chances are this bird is going to welcome you. This is the welcome swallow. It's one of the most common birds in Australia, and they're everywhere. And I know that the first time I went to Australia, when we got out of the terminal, here's one there to welcome us. Beautiful little swallow, and good chance if you see a swallow anywhere in Australia, this is it. There's not a lot of swallows there. This pretty guy here is the Australian magpie, and he does behave a lot like our magpies. I have no idea whether it's a member of the magpie family or not. And when you hear the names of these birds, you have to remember who named them. It's a bunch of prisoners from England. So you get some interesting combinations. This is the Australian wood duck, a male, and all of these here were taken in the botanical gardens, and there's hundreds more in there, so I didn't even scratch the surface there. Here's his family out for a stroll. Notice how well she's got these ducklings trained. They're all in step with her. She beats a lot of kids in this country. This is part of the cleanup crew at one of the tea houses. It's the white ibis, and you just never know what's going to show up there. This guy's out looking for scraps. This is the magpie lark. Now, it's neither a magpie nor a lark. And so this is one of those that is questionable name. Now, anybody have a guess as to what this is? Swan. Right. I would never have guessed it looking at this picture. These little guys have a lot of growing to do. Here they are with the family. And the ever-present coots behind. I don't think there's a place on the planet where you get away from coots. This is downtown Adelaide, my favorite big city on the planet. And most people have never heard of it. Everyone asks me why it's my favorite city. Well, the entire downtown area is surrounded on 3 sides by the Torrens River. And the Aussies love botanical gardens. So it's almost all either open space, green space, or a botanical garden. And it's one of the best places I found in Australia for seeing birds coming to Southeast Australia. And here it is right downtown. This is the Torrens River. Just immediately up to the left from here is the University of Adelaide. How's that for a campus? This is also the Torrens River right downtown. And it is truly great birding. Here's one there. This is sort of the bird that most people think of when you mention birds in Australia. This is the laughing kookaburra. It's also called the laughing jackass, which I think is totally appropriate. It sounds just like a burro or a jackass bray when he calls, and it's quite loud. Beautiful bird, and again, they're all over downtown Adelaide. These birds are in somewhat of a trouble. This is the yellow-tailed black cuckoo. No, not cuckoo, cockatoo, I'm sorry. A lot of their habitat is either burned or been developed. When I first went down there in 1988, they were a common bird. Now, the last trip, these were the only 2 I saw, and we were very lucky to have seen these. So, modernization coming to Australia is having its problems. This is the smallest bird in Australia, and I'll apologize for the lack of quality of this picture, but this was taken back in the old days when we used film and chemicals and all that stuff. So the image is degraded from that. But also, those of you that have tried to photograph small birds in thick brush know what I was up against here. You'd see a little flash gray here and there, and never see it out in the open. And this is the only time I ever saw it out in the open. It's called the weebill. It's a tiny little bird, but I guess they're have a very wide distribution. I saw them, about the only time I saw them was around Adelaide. This is the crested pigeon. These are common everywhere. They're found all over Australia. Quite a spectacular pigeon. These are rosellas. These are the crimson rosellas. Very common. You see them in parks all over the country. Beautiful birds. Now, the birds in Australia are colorful. A lot of them. I'll show you one exception to that in a bit. Now, from Adelaide, you can take a ferry over to Kangaroo Island. Kangaroo Island has a number of species of endemic plants, birds, and kangaroos. It's a great place to go. It's a nice place to go for a couple of days. One of the things you can see close up there are the Australian pelican. And I learned something there that just shocked me. always thought of pelicans as being very docile, laid back. They just sail along and catch fish occasionally, but they are very aggressive. These guys have been seen to swallow an entire duck family, mother and all. So, they're very large birds. There's a place on Kangaroo Island where they come in and they get fed by this guy. He collects fish parts from the market and feeds them every afternoon. Here's a good comparison between the sizes. Now the black swan is a big bird. That's a big bird. Look at it. Look at the pelican compared to its size. A very large bird. These are the Cape Barren geese. Their population goes up and down. Not sure anybody knows why. At times there'll be very few of them, and then I think when we were down there, they were all over the place. This was on Kangaroo Island, though. It's a fairly large goose, sort of plain. This is the Tamar wallaby. Now, this guy is probably extinct on the mainland. They haven't been seen anywhere for a long time, but they're doing very well on Kangaroo Island. And they're really neat little kangaroo. Now, if you see a large white gull, it's this one, and it's the most conspicuous gull in Australia. This is the silver gull. He's large and everywhere. They're all white except the wings tend to be a little gray, but easy to identify. And if you see a gull, chances are this is it. This is a weird one. This is the brush turkey. Now, you know how large birds fan their tail out? They spread it out. It's usually spread out horizontally. This guy's different. When he spreads his tail, it goes vertical. Weird. It's a brush turkey. Now we'll head out to the outback. Generally speaking, I think the gold area in the middle of this map is the real outback, where there's very low moisture, very dry, and I think I would put in a little bit more of a border out into the gold area or yellow area there. But this is the area that I just love to visit. Here we are going out in the outback. This is the Stewart Highway that runs from Adelaide on the south coast up to Darwin on the north coast, and this pretty much tells the story. Now, if you want to go to the north coast a little further west, the next paved road going north is 1,300 miles west. So you don't go around the block there. Another shot of the outback. And another one here. By this time you're probably thinking, Emerson, you've been out in the outback without a hat too long. But this is just a sampling. There's some gorgeous areas like this in the Flinders Ranges National Park, one of my favorite national parks on the planet. This is also in the park. And there are a lot of very interesting flowers there. I haven't been able to identify all the reptiles and lizards I got, so I'll probably never get around to trying to identify the flowers. This is the entrance to the Flinders Ranges National Park. I'm with my wife there holding the bricks up. It's a great park. I went in and signed in on the visitor book, and ranger that was on duty came up and looked at it, and she says, "You're from the U.S.? How did you hear about us?" And I said, "Well, just doing some exploring." And now every time I go back, I have to make a trip up here. The outback also has a lot of very brilliant endemic flowers. This is the Stewart's Desert Pea. And these are quite widespread out in the outback. It's one of the most spectacular flowers I've ever seen anywhere. And of course, the emus. Now, if you go to Australia, do not pronounce this bird's name as emu. They'll laugh at you, know you're a tourist immediately. It's pronounced emu. Very big. Their heads will frequently be about 6 feet above the ground. They can really haul. When they take off, they can really make tracks. And the outback is the place to see them. This gal's having a bad hair day. Now, I think the reason she came over to me is I had sunglasses on. They told us at the visitor center, if one approaches you, take your glasses off, because they will just reach up and yank them off your face. Weird habit they have. They also like to take attractive caps. If you have a bright red hat or something, they'll pull that off your head. Interesting birds. One of the interesting things about the emus is that the male and female will build a big nest. The female lays her eggs and splits. And then it's up to the male to sit on the eggs, hatch the eggs, and raise the little ones. Here you see a male out with a brood, but when you see this, you know that's a male, because the females don't hang around. One of the things they will do occasionally, if a male has a little brood that doesn't like, he'll move over close to another male with a brood, and he'll dump his little ones off to the other guy and split. And so sometimes you'll see a big male emu with 20 or 30 chicks. I wonder if they get paid for that service. The chicks are just really cute. These are getting a little large, but if you see the little ones, they are super cute. This is what I consider a good day bird. That's that same emu that I had the close-ups of. She kept following us around, and so I decided to turn the tables and follow her for a little bit. She got tired of it, took off. This is the white-necked heron. Fairly common, and it's again out in the outback in these little billabongs or little ponds. They seem to make a good living out there. This is an interesting one. I tried to identify this with every bird book I have. I got online and tried to identify it. Finally, in desperation, I sent this picture off to the wildlife people in Adelaide saying, "What is this?" And after a couple of weeks, I get an answer back, and the guy says, "We have no idea." And so he got a hold of some people up in the Northern Territories, and he was thinking that this could be a species that has come down from Southeast Asia, which occurs commonly in Australia. You get these migrants that come down. But this guy is 1,300 miles from the coast. He's done some traveling, if that's what it is, but we've been going back and forth now for 4 or 5 months, and no idea what this bird is. This is the wetback kingfisher, very common out in the outback and really in any fresh water or around fresh water. Cute little guy. This is the Nanking kestrel. It's about the size of our kestrel, except it has really long, thin wings. And I guess that's good for soaring, because you see them riding thermals and soaring out in the outback a lot. A really cute little bird. This is one of my favorite hotels in the world. I don't think my former wife was impressed. There were a lot of these hotels built out in the outback in the 1880s, primarily for government officials, so they'd have a place to stay and not have to sleep on the ground like the rest of them. But it's a bare bones hotel, which makes it kind of fun. The rooms are really cheap. Our room, I think, was $28 a night. It had a table, a chair, a bed, and a light bulb hanging from the ceiling of the corner. Bare bones. But you don't go out there to hang around in a motel room, so it was just ideal. They also have a little restaurant and great food. They really do it up right for breakfast. Good coffee also. And one of the reasons I like this particular hotel, and all of these out in the outback are essentially the same. The reason I like this one is right across the driveway are some galah trees. The galahs are cockatoos, and they usually travel in flocks of anywhere from 20 to 30 to well over 1,000. They're very noisy, so you can imagine what 1,000 these days sound like. Now, if you don't wake up until sunrise, these guys will wake you up right at sunrise, because they start chattering and squawking and everything. But it's really fun to get up before they take off, and then all of a sudden one will say, "Oh, time to go to work," and off they go. It's really a sight to see. This is one of my favorite birds because they're very social. This is not a tame bird. This is a wild bird. It's just sort of found a home in the motel office there. It goes in there and roosts for the night. They feed it, so it's not a bad deal. And then next morning it comes out, flies off with the regular flock. But he likes to meet people, and every time a stranger comes in, he has to come over and say hello and have a little chat. And as long as you talk to him, he'll sit there and chat with you. And then if you quit talking, he'll say, "Well, this guy's boring," and away he goes. These guys are so much fun. One of their favorite activities is to get up on a guy wire. These are the wires that come down at an angle from utility poles. They'll get up on a guy wire and slide down. And one of them do it, and then all of a sudden everybody else is, "I gotta do it." So pretty soon you have like 20 of these galahs sliding down this guy wire one after another, and just squawking and having a total good time. Another thing they'll do is get up on a power line or a slick branch. They'll sit there and they'll do circles. They'll swing around the power line. Another one of their favorite activities. Okay, this is the spiny-cheeked honey eater. Now, I'm fairly certain that's this honey eater, but again, there's about 50 different species of honey eaters in Australia, and pinning it down to one species takes a fair amount of effort. This is a very common bird. It has a real high screeching call. I want to attempt to make it here. This is the great crowned babbler. I guess there are a number of species of babblers, none in the New World. This guy reminds me a lot of a scrub jay, and you see him in places like you would here, like you would see scrub jays here. And fairly common, little pretty bird.
All right.
Okay, anybody here herpetologists are interested in snakes, lizards, critters? Well, that's too bad. They're very interesting. Anyway, this is called the shingleback lizard. Actually, it's a skink. And skinks are typically very sleek lizards with long tails, and not this guy. And he'll put on a hell of a show for you. They're very common out in the outback, and we were told repeatedly that they're totally harmless. And so after a little bit of coaxing, I got my daughter, I didn't pick it up, got my daughter to pick it up. And it was very docile. Just sat there in her hands till she set it down. A lot of interesting reptiles in Australia. Here's another beautiful little lizard that I made a futile attempt for a couple of days to identify. As far as I know, I never got close. This is the lizard that's really spectacular there. This is the Gould's goanna. This guy gets up to about 6 feet long. This one was about 5, and they can really move. We shot this from the window of our vehicle, and as soon as we opened the door to get out, he vanished, and just in a flash. This is considered a delicacy by the Aborigines. They skewer them. They just run a pole all the way down through the tail and put it on a spit and rotate it. Very favorite meal for Aborigines. This is the largest raptor in Australia. This is the wedge-tailed eagle. Now, that pipe he's standing on is a foot in diameter, so they'll give you some idea of the size. Big bird. They make their living now on a combination of kangaroo roadkills and rabbits. Originally, it was probably just kangaroos before white men took rabbits. They make a pretty good living. They're supposedly very widespread, including Tasmania, all the way up into the tropics, like Darwin. However, the only place I've ever seen them is out in the outback, and they tend to be fairly numerous. There it is in the areas. Well, I would guess maybe a 10-foot wingspan, 8-foot wingspan. Big bird, big bird. This is the painted firetail. Now this is one that's supposedly common in the outback, and in 5 trips out there, this is the only time I ever saw one, and luckily got a picture of him, but I wouldn't call him common. These are green rosellas. They're eating seeds off of these plants. Extremely tame. This is with a normal lens on the camera, as is this. You can walk right up to them, and they don't want you interrupting lunch, but they'll just sit there for you. This is a noisy miner. There's this is a species of birds called the miners that are common in Southeast Asia and Australia. They chatter a lot. sort of reminds me of mockingbird here. They have quite a vocabulary. If one's around, you'll know it. Lots of beautiful flowers out in the outback. People are always shocked to hear the flowers actually grow out there. It's sort of like our Sonoran Desert here. People just assume nothing grows in the Sonoran Desert. And yet, once you get to know it, you find that it's just full of all kinds of life. This is the orange chat, and it's this one I believe is actually a chat. He looks like it and acts like it. The place to see the big red-backed kangaroos is out in the outback. These guys get really big, and I had one came face to face with one by sheer accident one morning, and he was looking down on me. So I decided I was going in the wrong direction. Turned around and went back. This is a big male. Here the females are at tea in the morning with their young ones. Now, this is a exercise an example of camouflage. And you see the bird. There are a lot of these birds that feed on the ground in Australia, probably here too, that when they sense danger or somebody gets a little too close to them, they just freeze. The ptarmigan do that. You may have seen ptarmigan do that. If you get close, they just freeze. And they vanish. This guy, very hard to see.
Well, where is it?
He's right in the center, just to the right of the center. Everybody's seeing. Okay. That's a red wattlebird. Now this is probably the rarest bird I have ever seen, certainly the rarest bird that I've ever photographed. I can't believe how lucky I was to get this. This is the princess parrot. Twice in the last 100 years it's been declared extinct, and this is by professional birders. You only find it in the very driest parts of the outback. There probably has never been a lot of them, and I think the reason they've been declared extinct is a whole family or whatever, a whole group of them will just move to somewhere else. And so the people will come back where they saw them previously, and they're not there. And then 10 or 20 years later, somebody will find them in their new area. But anyway, this one is an extremely rare bird. We happen to be down in a wash on a hot day. I did have my hat on. Looking for birds. It's an excellent time to look for birds there because they like shade also. So if you're real careful walking around like we were walking up this little draw here, the birds are down in the shadows. And I happened to see this one move just a little bit, and I kept creeping up closer and closer, and finally got this picture of it. The wildlife people in Adelaide want to use this in some of their publications in the future. They said this is probably the best picture they've seen of this bird. Another exciting thing about birding in real wilderness, you just never know what you're going to see. And it's pretty exciting. This is the common bronze-winged pigeon, and again, they're fairly widespread, supposedly all over Australia. Australia. There are a lot of places I went in Australia where they weren't. But, pretty spectacular bird for a pigeon. Another endemic flower in the outback. This one I had a lot of trouble identifying. It's a female variegated wren, I think. Tiny little bird. There's a whole bunch of little wrens in Australia, and they tend to be really spectacular. This is the fork-tailed kite, very common all over Australia. This is probably the major raptor in Australia. He's about the size of a red-tailed hawk. They soar for hours. Beautiful bird. This has a very wide range. We saw these guys in India a few years ago, so they go all the way over there, and I think they also go over into East Africa. That would be a very common bird. Well, with this total eclipse of the sun that we got from the outback in 2002, I might say a little word here about this. People thought we were absolutely nuts. 12 of us flew from Boulder, Colorado to this place out near the center of the outback to see a 30-second eclipse. You laugh. You people that are laughing have never seen a total eclipse. This was one of the most awesome and spectacular things that I've ever witnessed. And here was a total eclipse at sunset. Just awesome. The Aussies down there thought we were nuts too, and said so. We were out on this 1.5 million acre ranch, and they just could not understand how we would come down there and do this until they saw it. As soon as they saw it, they said, when and where is the next one? We are going to go see it. Now, from the outback in central Australia, we'll go up to where it's marked A there. That's Darwin. This is very tropical. It's just a few degrees from the equator, as you can see. Days there almost year-round are frequently up in the 90s temperature-wise, in the 90s humidity-wise. It's very sticky, very hot, but what a place. I've never been there until this last trip, and we went up. This is the city of Darwin, shot from the plane. Now this green area close to the water that goes all around on the left side there, that is a promenade with all kinds of vegetation, and buried in there somewhere is the Darwin Botanical Gardens. If someone were to say to me, I have 5 days to spend in Australia birding, and only 5 days, I want to go to one location and see all the birds I can see, where should I go? Right here. This green area on the northwest side of Darwin. It's an amazing place. City Beach. What do you notice? Anybody? Well, there's no one in the water. Remember that second map I showed you? There are good reasons why there's no one in the water. They routinely haul out saltwater crocodiles. Great white sharks come through there all the time. They have the little box jellyfish that if you get stung by it, you have about 30 minutes to live. They have sea snakes right here, right off the coast. And then there's a little snail that has a harpoon that it can shoot out into its victim, and it has very poisonous poison in it. And again, if you get one of those stuck in you, you get about a half hour. So that's the reason no one goes in the water in Darwin. Now, in that promenade, this is a common guy there. This is the red-colored lorikeet. A real common bird. He likes to chatter while he's eating, but there's lots of them there. This is a honey eater that I got in there. This is another one of these damn bird pests. I spent days trying to identify this. It's a female, so not real brilliantly born. Like a lot of times, if someone asks me, "What's that bird?" I say, "It's a honey eater." There's about 50 species of them. I won't go any further than that. Now, here's your fork-tailed kite and a couple of the Mar Strait pigeons. Now, I think if I were one of those pigeons, I would be looking for another place to rest. The look on that kite's face just tells me he's maybe a little hungry. These pigeons are just found at the extreme northern edge of Australia, up near Darwin. This is a female redback wren, I think. And again, if somebody asks me, "What is that?" I'll say it's a wren. Again, these are very common up there. This is a yellow-pinted honey creeper. And the only way I was able to identify him is by that little white mark on his throat. And that usually doesn't show. It's only when he turns his head or tips his head that shows. I caught him in a good pose there, and so this is a pretty certain identification. And the green rosella again. These guys are just everywhere. This was a real treat to see these again up there in that promenade area of the common. That's the peaceful dove. It's the smallest dove in the world. It's about the size of a house finch. Really neat little bird. Now, I don't know how well you can see this, especially in the back, but if you look just to the left of his head, there's a little base. Now, this guy is the size of a house finch. Look at the size of that guy back there. This is the banded white-faced finch. Yeah, banded white-faced finch. These were almost made extinct several decades ago. They were catching them and sending them off to the U.S., Japan, and China for pets. And it almost wiped them out. If you get caught trying to haul one out of the country now, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. They really tightened up on this. I remember seeing these in pet stores some time ago. And they'd be easy to catch. Cute little birds. This is the little grebe. If you see a grebe in Australia, good chance is that it's this little grebe. Because it's about the only grebe there. Now up around Darwin there are a number of big rivers, and you can go on a riverboat ride. where they feed various things, and it's pretty exciting. I would highly recommend it. Now, when we got on this boat, one of the rangers on this boat came up to those of us sitting upstairs, and she said, "Whatever you do, don't hang your arms over the rails." And we're going, "What? What the hell is this?" And the windows down below are very thick glass windows, and so we figured, okay. A lot of people somewhat blew her off and got up next to the rail and leaning against the rail up there. Here's a white-breasted sea eagle. Beautiful, beautiful bird. About the size of our bald eagle. Very numerous, as you can see here. And they would take little pieces of chicken and throw them up in the air, and these guys would grab them in the air. There it is, flying. Beautiful bird. This is not a bird. This is a saltwater crocodile, and this is the reason we took the boat trip. This guy is about 18 feet long, and the yes weighs about a ton. This trip totally changed my impression of crocodiles. Normally, you see them, they're laying up on a beach somewhere in the mud and look very slow and sluggish. They're not that way. Now, they would feed these crocodiles from a rod and hang big pieces of chicken on it. And these guys would really come up after it. And they can come 3/4 of their length out of the water. And that is incredibly fast. And when we saw this, there were no arms hanging over the rail. And in fact, most people got back away from the rail. Here's another one. Now look how far out. See, his hind legs are out of the water. Now, the reason they learned to do this is they have these bats, flying foxes, that are quite large, about a couple feet long or so, and they come and roost on limbs that hang out over the water. They've got to be careful how high those limbs are, because these guys will come right up and snatch them. Also, in the early days of exploration in Australia, there were a lot of the English expeditions took off from Darwin and headed up these rivers in canoes, and people would vanish. Never see or hear anything about them. And they figured that at the time that the Aborigines were killing these people, and they went over and interrogated them, and they said, no. And finally, there were two boats going along together, two canoes. One was quite a ways ahead of the other one, and all of a sudden, one of these guys comes up, goes right over the boat with one of the guys in his jaws and into the water. They learned then. They learned a lot. These are the Broga cranes, about the same size as our sandhill crane. Evidently, it's a common crane in Asia. These are two males, and the females are over here. Now this is the way to save on slides. I got the only two ibises in Australia in one picture, so it's one less slide I had to use. There's the white ibis on the right. The other one has a funny name. I'm not sure I can come up with it. Australia. Remember, there was one in the Sydney Botanical Gardens I showed you earlier. These are magpie geese. Why anyone called them magpie geese, beyond me. These geese probably never saw a magpie. These are very common up along the north end. This is one of the awfulest birds I've ever seen. This is the scrub fowl, and it's found pretty much in the northern quarter of Australia. Makes his living with those claws, of course. They're just incredibly ugly, and if there's anything worse than his looks, it's his diet. He loves centipedes. He eats centipedes whole, one after another. We sat there for almost a half hour watching two of these guys. We figured they were eating a centipede, or 2 centipedes a minute. And man, what a stomach they must have. And then at night they scream. I'm sure it's indigestion. They just scream, and you can hear them all over town. They tend to roost in the botanical gardens. And we had a hotel room right next to the botanical gardens. And these things are just screaming all night. But one night we went out to dinner across town, and we came out, and sure enough, we could hear them all the way across town. That awful looking bird. But we'll say goodbye to Darwin with a beautiful Darwin sunset. Most of the sunsets look just like this because it's fairly hazy up there. It's hot and humid. So you get some really spectacular sunsets. Now we're going to go all the way across the continent, down to Tasmania. And here's what the island of Tasmania looks like. I think east to west there in the center, it's probably 100 miles. And maybe from tip to tip, north to south, maybe 200 miles, something like that. It's not a big island. It is very, very special. I consider it one of the true gems of the planet. And again, you walk out of the terminal and you're welcomed by the welcome swallow. What else? These little guys are everywhere. Tasmania is very different than the mainland. Most people compare it with New Zealand, and I think that's a good comparison. There are a lot of mountains. They get snow there in the winter. It's a different climate, quite a different climate. Right here is, across the water, there's Prescott Audubon National Park. Beautiful national park. Lots of wildlife, lots of birds. Just a gorgeous place to spend a couple of days. This is the extreme southeast coast. Of course, Tasmania was the main place they took the criminals to. The English took the criminals to. And there's some of the old prisons still here, and you can go through them. And I cannot imagine living under those conditions. Waterfalls, there's waterfalls everywhere. Tasmania, unlike the mainland, is very wet. They have lots of rainforests. Just a gorgeous place. Now, as with all the signs you see in Australia, you should heed them. I was going to say back when we were looking at the saltwater crocs, they do take people, and it's typically 4 or 5 people a year get eaten by a saltwater croc. And almost without fail, it's a man, a male from the U.S. between the ages of 16 and 30. That tells you something. These people haven't learned to read signs. They have signs up everywhere warning people about the crocodiles, and these people just ignore them, blow them off, and become a meal. Now here's one you do not want to ignore. Warning, furlongs will steal your lunch. And boy will they. This is a furlong. He's about the size of a raven, big bird, and he has the attitude to go with his looks. He runs the show around there. We were having lunch at this little restaurant along the road, and sure enough, here comes this guy. My wife was getting ready to eat. My lunch is in the green bag. And he's looking at me, wondering if he can get to it before I can get to him. He hung around there, couldn't get rid of him. Finally, we gave him a little piece of meat and away he went. Very interesting bird, though. If you like ferns, I love ferns. The largest ferns I've ever seen in my life are in Tasmania. There are ferns that are the size of a house. Gorgeous. Now this was one of the best shots I've ever taken, and required a fair amount of work. We were told where we were staying here, this is at the Cradle Mountain Lodge, that there was a chance we could see some Tasmanian devils who were willing to come back around the lodge a little after midnight. Well, we tried for 3 nights. Finally, on the 3rd night, we were being just as quiet as we could, and we heard this little rustling and some very weird noises. And here they come, a mother and 2 little ones. This is one of the little ones. And so I started shooting pictures. This is the best one I got. My wife had the adult female come up and sit on her boot. It's a unique distinction. As you may have heard, these guys are in deep trouble. They've got a virus that's about to wipe them out. But really neat. And this little tank is a wombat, and they're all over Tasmania. And it's easy to find them. You go out and listen, and you hear this munching, munch, 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 and you follow that sound, and you'll find one of these guys. Very noisy eater. Cute little animals, and you can walk right up to them, and as long as you don't interfere with their eating, they don't care. This is just somewhat typical clump of flowers along the highway in Tasmania. Tasmania, as I was telling someone earlier, actually exports more tulips than the Netherlands. It's the world's major exporter of tulips. And here's our, let's see, magpie, yeah. Not the lark magpie or whatever. Yeah. Let's see, Australian magpie. Neat birds. This, depending on whose list you are reading, is supposedly the 4th or 5th most poisonous snake in the world. This is the tiger snake. Now, Australia has a very enlightened view of wildlife, including reptiles. If you harm this snake, regardless of how poisonous it is, if you harm this snake, you can get a $1,500 fine and spend 8 months in jail. And I asked him, I said, well, what if one of these comes up on a playground where the kids are playing? And they said, the kids know and know what to do. They just stay away from it until someone comes up, picks it up, and throws it out in the bush. Very enlightening. Very few people are bitten by these. There's only one or two snakes in Australia that people are bitten by, and they tend to be out in the, really out in the outback, and they're very hard to find. I've looked for them now on 5 trips, never seen them. Here's what this guy normally looks like. You'll see him moving along through the leaves. He made no attempt to bite me. This is a pretty little bird. This is a superb blue wren. And talk a little bit more about it a little later. This is a little variegated wren. Isn't that cute? They are just so cute, and they are so tiny. And again, if you're around the water and see a tern, it's almost certain to be a Caspian tern. They're everywhere there, and I don't think there's another one that hangs around Australia that much. This is a possum, and this guy is totally nocturnal, and they've learned in tourist areas to come up and knock on the door. They actually come up and knock on the door, and they're wanting a handout. But again, a handout there, if you got it's like $100. So you do not want to feed the animals, but they learn. And the first time we ran into that, well, it must have been 9 or 9:30 at night, and we hear this little tap, tap, tap. Who the hell is that? So we opened the door. There's this little guy looking up at us, feeding. Oh, a lot of people have these as pets. I had a run-in with one back. Did some friends in New Zealand, and I was staying with them for a few days. They had a pet possum, and so I decided to pick it up and rub it or something. And before they could say anything, I had picked it up. They had this nasty thing of just pissing all over you. They do not like to get picked up. And before I could let go of it, I was covered. And so I had a little laundry to do. So if you ever see one of these guys, don't pick it up. This is the little padmelon, one of the smallest kangaroos in Australia. It's called a padmelon because when they're out in a paddock eating with their head down, all you see is a little round body. And it's about the size of a big melon. And so that's how they got the name padmelons. These are quite common in Tasmania, really cute. Another unknown bird. I guess you can see why. This one, I sent a picture off to the Tasmanian wildlife people, and said I was giving a talk and was going to include this picture in it. And I'd like to know what it is. Didn't hear from them for a couple of weeks, and I get the shortest email I've ever gotten. They sent back, "Good luck." So much for that. Here's a family of chestnut teal taking the little ones out for an early swim. You notice they're keeping them up close to the rocks and watching them very carefully. Neat little birds. Now, there's quite a story behind this picture. First time I saw this bird, I said, I've got to have a portrait shot of that bird, this picture. And I'm sure you've all read these adventure stories in Audubon and various other places where someone gets totally infatuated with a bird or mammal, and they'll go to any expense to get a picture or to see it or hear it. My last trip to Tasmania, I knew it was probably my last trip, so I decided I don't care what it takes, I'm going to get a picture of this bird. So I start looking at maps, trying to figure out where to go, how long I'd have to be out, whether I needed a guide or not, and getting all ready for quite an expedition. I shot this picture out in the hotel window. And with that, I say good day and hope you enjoy it.
Thank you very much, Gary. You may have noticed I'm not Felipe. I'm Sue, and I want to thank you on behalf of all of us. Felipe had another engagement. We have something for you. We're running a teeny bit late, but we may have time for a question or two.
Sure.
It's okay?
There are two very good guidebooks. This is the Field Guide to Birds of Australia by Graham Kissy. There's the new edition of this out. I don't think that will ever be good. There's another edition of this. And then in a long time, Guide to Watching Wildlife in Australia. This is incredibly accurate. I was wanting to see that
I was wanting to see that little Nanking escort, yeah, thank you. And in this book, it says, if you're out in the outback, go to Cooper PD, go out to the dump, and there will be one sitting on a power line. I thought, what the hell? So we went up to Cooper PD, which is open line, and we found our way out to the dump, looked up on the wire, there was an antique chest. So you can't beat that book.
Anyone have a question I'd like to ask Gary before we... Dave?
Do you have any plans for this year's North American
Oh, yes. Yeah, yes, we're all set for the eclipse this year. In fact, there's several people in the audience here who are going with us. We have, I think, 41 people tagging along with us. We're going to Idaho, and it should be awesome. It's been, well, since 2002 since I've seen it. Too long. I encourage everybody to go somewhere up there inside the center line.
am I likely to see a net festival in China?
I have no idea. You have to check Chinese bird book and hope it's not in China. I don't know how widespread they are. I have the range here of them in Australia, but a lot of those raptors do come from far and wide.
Is anyone in the audience know the answer to that?
I'm looking it up.
Good show.
We have Google.
I hope all of you can get to Australia sometime. It's just a great place. And I always tell people the way to save money on the airline ticket is just to buy 1 week. You won't.
Gary, thank you so much for bringing Australia a little bit closer to us. We appreciate it. I don't know, you think we should have a Prescott Audubon field trip?